name is Kelly and welcome to Just Crafting Around. Today we are going to work with some baseballs. What we're going to do is, being it is July, July to me means 4th of July, Independence, red, white, and blue. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a baseball and I am going to show you what we actually did to this and how we got it to turn out this way. So let's get started. Number one, I found something that it's going to fit into nicely, because mainly and mostly what you're going to be doing with this is you're going to be waiting for the paint to dry on it. So it's going to be taking steps along the way here, and we're going to make this one a little bit different than we did this. We are going to color one side of it in blue and we're going to color the other side in red, completely all red, and instead of making stripes, we're just going to do red, blue, and then we are going to use a stencil and we are going to be stenciling some stars on there. So let's get started. First thing I did with this, and I'm not sure if you needed to do it or not, but I just roughed it up a little bit. So I took some fine grit sandpaper, just roughed it up a little bit, nothing big, nothing fancy, just so that the paint would stick really well. Now, they do have a lot of writing on them, but that's okay because we're going to be covering it up with the paint anyway. What I did with this one here for the writing part is I left the writing on because I knew that the dark blue would cover it. So I took where there was a lot of writing and I used it as my dark blue. And then on this side where I just did the lines for the red, I made sure that wherever there was wording that it got covered up with the red. So again, just a little bit of sandpaper. Don't know if you need to do this, but rough it up a little bit because this is a brand new ball, never been used. I think it would be really cool if you could find some that were grungy and have been used, but didn't find any of those, so I'm gonna rough it up a little bit. And a lot of this is going to be paint, let dry, paint, let dry, walk away from it, let it dry real good, come back, paint it some more. And then at the end, what we're going to do is once we're done with it, we see that we like it, have it the way we really like it, we are going to take the acrylic spray, and I've got the matte spray, so we're going to take some acrylic spray and we're going to spray them. Make sure when you spray them that you're in a ventilated area, like maybe outside. The weather is really, really nice out today, so you could either take them outside and let them dry out there, or spray them out there and then let them dry out there, or you could just leave them in your house and let them dry overnight. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose my colors. Of course, the paints that I'm using are chalk paints. Again, these two chalk paints I picked up at Target. They do have a really nice section now for crafts. And this chalk paint, I picked up the white one. I actually picked up at Joann's Fabrics. Again, just trying out the paints, seeing what color. This was as close to true blue and as nice of a blue as what I could find. So that's why I chose this one. And what I'm going to do is when I paint, I'm going to get close, and you're going to paint and you probably won't see so much of this, but what you can do is get as close as you want, and then I come back and I just dip the paint in just a little bit, my brush, just to get it a little bit. You don't have to get a whole lot of paint on the side so that you can still see that this is a baseball and it still has the red stitching on it. So that's what we're looking for. And again, we're looking for grungy. So we're going to paint. And what I did was I coated this, I stood back and looked at it and looked to see if I needed to coat it again. So I did paint it a couple times. So after the 2 coats, very easy, very simple to paint. It's not a hard project at all. More time consuming, like I said, because you are going to be waiting for the paint to dry. So that's going to be the longest part of it, because it's hard to paint both sides at the same time, and you have to find something that you know is going to, that it isn't going to touch the sides when you actually put it on to dry it. So see what kind of a cup, put it in the cup, see if it fits in there just right for you. And what I do is I paint and I get the side first, and then I'll come back and I'll get where the stitching part is. I want to make sure that my brush strokes are all the same. Now you can paint it once, take a look at it. Maybe one time is good. Maybe you don't want to paint it a second time. Again, your preference. You decide what you like. and the look you're going for. If you're going for the grungy look, I liked a little bit of the white to shine through. I figured that just gave it character. Once the paint dries and everything is completely dry, then we are going to go over it again with the top with the sandpaper. Because once we're done with the sandpaper, we can look to see if it's how we like it. And then I actually, with this here, put a coat of, it's called, I think it is CABOT wood stain, and the stain I used was the dark walnut to give it that grungy look. So now, like I said before, I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to go over the top of this. I like some of the white to shine through. I don't want it to be so perfect and be so heavy blue. So I'm just going to go over the top and get the stitching on the one side. Some of it's going to be a little darker than others. Don't worry if you get into the other side, because I think that just gives it a little bit more added character. What I'm going to do with these is I'm going to have a bowl that I'm going to set out, and I'm just going to use them as decorations and take them and put them in the bowl. And that'll be part of the decoration that I have sitting on my table. I did happen to find this on Pinterest. I find something I like, I try to make it towards my own a little bit. Do something completely different. Give it your own look, your own technique, your own like. And again, like I said, if you like it like this and you don't want to put the stain on, you most certainly do not have to. If you don't want the grungy look, if you want more of the natural nice look, you can do that as well. That is not a problem. The thing also that I like about the chalk paint is it cleans up so easy. If you get it on your clothes, if you get it on your hands, it really washes off really, really nicely. And again, you don't need to be so perfect with everything, because we're going to be coming back. This here actually took really, really nice. I honestly don't think I am going to be repainting this. Turned out exactly the way I wanted it to. Looks pretty good. As you can see here, it went along the sides. You can still see the red in some parts of it so that you can see the stitching. So I just kind of highlighted some of those parts a little bit. Not very dark. Some of them got darker than others because of course I dipped my brush in there, so it got a little dark. So we're just going to let this set right now, right in here. The sides are not touching. I'm going to let it dry real good. Then once it dries, we're going to come back and we're going to give it the red coat on the other side. We'll see how that covers. If it covers real good, we'll do the red. We'll give it one coat. We will come back after everything is dried really good. We'll come back and then we'll stencil our stars on there. Once the stars and stuff are stenciled on, we'll leave again. We'll let it dry really good. We'll come back. We'll take our sandpaper after it. We'll sand it down and then we will put our coat on there.
As the demand for advanced broadband and cloud-based services continues to grow, so does our commitment to you, our members. We are committed to providing you with the newest technologies and fastest broadband speeds available anywhere. Watch for the exciting details on faster speeds and new broadband packages coming soon.
Okay, now that the navy blue has dried, we are going to go with the red. We're going to paint it all red. Instead of striping, we're not going to stripe it this time. We're going to go all red on it. And we'll see. Sometimes red is a color that you need to paint a couple times instead of just one coat. The blue turned out real good, but we'll see once what this one does. This one here is called more of a cranberry color than it is a red color, so I think we will go and do it more than one time. If you put too heavy a coat on there, it takes longer for it to dry, And you can see your brush strokes pretty good, which I don't like that. So I think this one we're going to have to coat twice. And again, we're going to just go along here and coat it, and then we're going to do the sides where the red stitching is at. And once we're done with that, we're going to let it dry. I'm going to give it a second coat. And then we are going to let that dry real good. Then once it's dried, we're going to come along with the white. And we are going to stencil some stars on here. And once we're done stenciling the stars on, we are going to take some sandpaper. We're going to sand it off. Just lightly sand it. Once we've lightly sanded it, then we're going to come along and we're going to use some of the dark stain. And we're not going to put the stain on very heavy, just use up some of the darkness of it. The reason I'm going to coat this twice is because in some areas it actually looks pink instead of red, and I don't want that. I want it to be a deep red color. I'll go along here and do the sides. Again, very easy to do. Biggest part about this project is letting it dry. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes some of the things, some of the goof ups that I make actually turn out than if it would have been done perfectly. I like some of those a lot better. And again, what I'll do with these is I'll just take them and put them in a bowl. Display them a little bit. Bring them out again maybe for Veterans Day. More likely I'll just bring them out for the 4th of July because it's summer, so you'll have baseball. So there we go, first coat on. And now we will just let it dry real good. Again, we'll come back, we'll give it a second coat. Doesn't take long to dry. We'll be right back with the second coat, and then we will start stenciling the stars on.
Get 3 months free access on all lines, plus a new 4G smartphone for only $4.99 a month. 2 great offers with Valley Cellular. Call Valley today at 437-2615 to take advantage of this great deal.
Okay, now that we've got our second coat of red on here, it's looking pretty good. I am going to take the stencil that we have. We've got some stars on this stencil, so I'm going to take that and I am just going to stencil on some stars. Once the stars are stenciled on and we are done, then we're going to let everything dry really good. Once it dries really good, then we are going to sand a little bit. Once it's done, once we're done sanding, then we are going to turn around and put a little bit of stain on there. Now, these stars aren't going to turn out just perfect. It's okay too. We can always run over the top of it with a little bit of red if we want, if we get it out there too far. We're going to use this kind of a brush. It's called a sponsler, I believe. And as you can see, these aren't perfect stars. They're kind of funky cut out, but that's okay. We like funky. So, and no specific place. There's nothing specific about this. I didn't measure, didn't do anything like that. What I'm going to do is probably put 4 or 5 of the stars on here. Again, we'll have to watch the spots so that we don't smear it. And again, if you do smear it a little bit, you can always come over the top with a little bit of red and take care of that part. You don't want to use too much, just a little bit like this. It's going to leave like a bubble effect, a little bubbly effect on your project that you're doing when you use a brush like this. just gives it that kind of altogether different look. Okay, got one funky looking star. It's not the best, but I kind of like it. Kind of looks different. Looks a lot different than this one that we did here. These are more just kind of out there. Just gonna do a few of them. Wet your brush if you think you've got too much on there. Take it off on your wax paper. Again, I'm using wax paper, and the reason we use the wax paper is so that you don't get the table dirty. You don't want to have too much paint on your brush when you're doing when you're stamping like this. Too much paint is not good. Go around it a little bit, pull it off. There's our second star. Now we're going to go on the blue side. And I have just the perfect mug for that. And it just so happens to be a Valley mug. Once we're done here, we're going to kind of take a look at it and see if we want to put some small stars around it yet. And we can do that here in a bit. And again, the kind of paint that I'm using is chalk paint. You can use acrylic paint. That'll work just fine as well. I like chalk paint because when I'm stressing, chalk paint is by far the easier of the paints to work with. Even when I'm stenciling, I like the chalk paint better. Just seems so much easier. Plus it dries, it seems to dry a lot faster as well. And as you can see, I made a little bit of a mess on this, but that's okay because we'll take the blue paint and we'll go back and we'll kind of make that look a little bit better. And if you don't want to, there again, you don't have to either. It's just that I don't like it because it's smeared a little bit more. So now we're going to do this side yet. Go up on top. I'm going to use the same kind here. And I can tell that I got some underneath my cutout here. So I can tell I'm going to have to go back, and I'll have to do this one too, but you can always, once it's dry, you can always go back and touch up with the one colored paint. That is not a problem. Very, very easy to do. Okay. Now that I have the stars on there that I'm looking for, I'm only going to put 4 of them on there. Kind of like it like just with the 4, and that way it doesn't look so overdone with too many stars. I'm going to let this dry. Once it dries, I'm going to come back and I'm just going to touch up the areas with the paint. Once that dries, we will come along with our sandpaper, and then we're going to use some of the dark wood stain, and we're going to stain it to kind of age it a little bit.
Valley Telecommunications, the home team advantage.
Okay, now that everything is dry on here, I'm going to take some sandpaper and we're just going to rough it up a bit. Doesn't matter if the colors kind of bleed into each other a little bit. Kind of turns out nice that way. So I'm just going to rough it up a little bit, rough it up to the liking. It doesn't have to be. If you see you did too much and you don't want that much, then just go back to painting and then let it dry real good. You can see it gets kind of cloudy. It's all right, we'll get all that taken care of here. You can see I've taken off some of the color. Again, not an issue. Would be an issue if, now you could just let this go as well and just leave it as is and take your acrylic spray and spray them. not a problem. If you want to distress them a little bit, then you need to take some sandpaper and go over it. Okay, enough of that. Always wipe it off because you're going to have some of that grid. You can see it's going to turn your towel here that you're using. It's going to put some of the color on there, and that's why you need the acrylic spray to put over the top when you're using this. If you don't use the acrylic spray and you would come over the top with some water, it would take the paint and everything right off, the chalk paint. I'm going to put some gloves on so that the stain doesn't stain our hands so badly. And we're just going to dip the rag in, take out a little bit, and then just start rubbing it around, soaking it into the spots that you took the sandpaper after. Sandpaper roughs it up really good. Put it on, wipe it off. I have to see which one is my favorite one when we're done here. Make sure that you get it covered fairly good here. And once we're done, being as it's so hot outside, we can actually put them outside and let it get really nice and dry. Dry everything real good. Once it's dried really, really good, again, take the acrylic spray after them. Now you could put the words USA on here. Find some kind of a picture. You can put the picture on as well. Find some kind of a saying that you like and stencil it on here. A lot of things you could do. There, we've completed this project. Looks worn, looks pretty good. So we've got 2 baseballs, and we're going to take these and just put them in a bowl. And this will be a decoration for on your table or wherever you want to put it. Thank you for tuning in to Just Crafting Around. If you are a crafter and you want to be on the show and you want to show your talents, please give us. You can call either Lisa or myself at 437-2615 and let us know what you would like to do. We will buy the supplies and you can be on the show as a guest. Again, give us a call at 437-2615. Thank you.